Joining me now for more is Philip Catney. He is a senior lecturer in politics over at Keele University. Philip, good to have you on the show. Let me start by asking you what you made of the Prime Minister's appearance, the first Prime Minister's questions. Were you reasonably impressed?
Expectations were low. She is not renowned as a particularly slick presenter, as your correspondent said. So going into this, the Conservative backbenchers were watching this with some trepidation. Mr. Johnson's style was fairly acrimonious. It caused a lot of arguments. She tried to strike a different tone, which is not unusual for people who are in their first time in a job, the first time they're trying to present themselves. They often try to come across as more consensual, more open to other sides' arguments, and she certainly talked about being more bilateral in the way she engaged in politics. But then, as the session went on, she started giving some meat to the backbenchers. But certainly, I think on this first occasion, she did well. She got through the session. There were no major blows landed on her. She seemed to cope as she'd probably hope.
Let's talk about how she's going to be engaged with reviving the economy. This is going to be one of her top tasks. I mean, if she's going to pass a multi-billion package to freeze energy bills, at the same time lower taxes, how is this going to work? I mean, the money has got to come from somewhere.
Well, this is why Sir Keir Starmer went after her on that issue, because she has an issue that she has promised tax cuts. She's also promising investment in infrastructure. She's also promising a package that could cost £100 billion for the energy crisis. So she's saying that there's a concept in economics called the Laffer curve, that if you reduce taxation, if you reduce the amount of taxation rate, it increases revenues because people are less prone to hide their money elsewhere and more liable to pay to the UK Exchequer. When that's been tried out in places like America under Ronald Reagan, it never really succeeded. Just treble the size of the debt. And Donald Trump did something very similar in America. So it's not. I think the tension in a party is going to be they're all in favour of tax cuts, but they're also in favour of sound money. And the sound public finances, and the debate between her and Kwasi Kwarteng in the Chancellor Exchequer's role will be, how can we afford this? The Treasury will keep asking, how can we afford this? And there hasn't been a clear strategy for how she's going to get this growth and how she's going to pay the bills.
Another one of the headlines coming out from her first PMQs is her promising to end the bitter wrangling over the post-brexit trade in Northern Ireland. What's going to be her approach? I saw you sort of what you did there with your eyes.
Well, Northern Ireland is a sticking point. It always was a sticking point. As soon as Brexit happened, it was always going to be clear that Northern Ireland was going to be a big problem. Theresa May, when she was Prime Minister, negotiated a deal with the European Union, which could have given at least a medium-term solution to that problem. That is, if we couldn't find an adequate trading relationship, the whole of the UK would fall back inside the European single market. Now, what's happened is that Boris Johnson said, no, we're not having that. Northern Ireland can be in there itself. It can be its own in the single market for goods, if not services, and we'll have this complex trading relationship. Then Boris Johnson woke up and realised, oh, that's causing problems for Northern Irish unionists. So then the deal he signed, he then wanted to jettison and say what an awful deal it was. Now, Liz Truss has been the Foreign Secretary for the last 6 months, and she has been involved in some of these negotiations. Her instinct, it seems, is to say, well, actually, we're going to trigger Article 16 of the agreement, which basically means that the UK will do some unilateral action because they say it threatens the integrity of Northern Irish political situation. Now, that is going to trigger serious concerns in Europe. It may well end up triggering a trade war if there isn't some agreement met. So this is one of those situations where a lot of people don't want to get into the detail of this. It's very complicated stuff, but also it's very, for some British people, it seems to be quite boring stuff. But actually, it's quite crucial that this Brexit deal, the thing that Boris Johnson said was oven ready and was done, actually gets done. And this is something which Truss will have to find a solution to because the situation demands it.
Well, Catney, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour. Do appreciate it.